Hello and welcome to another episode of the Handyman Success Podcast. I am Jason Call, one of the co-hosts, founder of Handyman Marketing Pros, and I am with my partner in crime and other co-host, Alan Lee, with Honestly Handyman and the Handyman Journey. Our mission with this podcast is to bring on successful handyman and home improvement contractor business owners, really to hear their story about their business, their marketing, operations, all this stuff that we can really glean from them so that you can learn and apply things in your own business. And then even maybe more important than that is be inspired of what's possible and that you can get out there and really accomplish your dreams and your goals for your own home improvement contractor business. So without any further ado, today we have Charlie with Red Level Improvements. Thank you so much for coming on today.
No problem. Glad to be here.
And if you don't mind kind of kicking us off here, Charlie, just give us a little background about, you, your business, where you're located.
We've been in business since 2020 full-time in Grand Forks, North Dakota. And I guess I don't know how far you want me to go with that, but yeah, basically full-time. Last year was our first full year in business. 2021 was our first full year.
Okay. And how did you guys get started in the business? Like what brought you to start it?
Well, I was working for the railroad, and a friend of mine worked for the railroad also asked me one day if I could read a tape. And I said, yeah, I can read a tape. He said, do you want to do some light stuff? We do a little construction. That's how it started. That was back in 2014. So from 2014 until 2020, he and I worked together, doing little odd jobs, small repairs, up to maybe an addition, not an addition, but putting up walls, little things like that making a room in a basement, nothing major. That's how it kind of started. And in 2020, I broke off on my own from him. He's still a very good friend of mine, still hangs around on jobs and whatever, but he's retired. Mm-hmm. So okay, that's how that all started.
And I always love the kind of question of if I recall correctly, were you kind of like on pause at your railroad job and then you started doing more of the handyman home improvement work? Or I guess yes. The actual question is kind of alluding more to that. And then what was that trigger of I'm going all in?
Well, so January of 20, I officially started the business. And in April of 20, I got furloughed from the railroad. So that right there, it was kind of a perfect storm because I'd already when I'd started and just kind of was working at it part-time, I wasn't really ever thinking I was going to be full-time. I mean, it was in the back of my mind a little bit, but never like that. That wasn't the goal. I was going to do small jobs, half-day jobs, maybe full-day jobs on a day off. And that's where it was going to start. Or that's where it was kind of probably going to end. But eventually, when I got furloughed in April of 20, all of a sudden I was like, well, okay, now we're doing it full time. Mm-hmm. Now we really have to make this go. I mean, it can't just be a part-time extra money gig anymore.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, definitely. And so from the get-go, when you started, I guess full time, which would have been around April of 2020, was it? Like, if you're comfortable sharing, what was your gross revenue like during those first couple months? And was it sustainable, or did it take it a little while to kind of become sustainable for you?
Well, in January of 20, just to kind of give you an idea, I did $177 in sales.
Okay.
I mean, that was it. So that was the first month. After April of 20, we did like 270 from April until the end of the year. Mm-hmm. So right in that ballpark. I don't have the numbers in front of me for that, but it's close.
Mm-hmm. 270,000 between April and the end of the year in 2020, first year in business.
Yes.
Wow.
Awesome.
And out of that, the end net result was we netted 9,000 the first year. So net profit. So I don't think that's a terrible number.
Mm-hmm. No, not at all. First year in business, part of the year just kind of furloughed and, took a shot at it full time out of necessity. And I'd say that's pretty solid.
Yeah, yeah, that's amazing. So, what would you say like took you from that? Like, I mean, what helped you to kind of get those numbers? Would you say in that first year? Like, what were things that you focused on just starting out?
So being I already had a background in construction and people knew that I was, capable and that type of thing. I already had a kind of a leg up on that. And then I got involved with Jason with a website and, search engine optimization and making things kind of go that way. And it didn't take very long to get up in the Google searches where we were in the top 5. For handyman near me, handyman Grand Forks. I mean, it very quickly became something that I could see was going to carry on through the end of the year. I mean, it was like, this is where we're at. I mean, we can make this work because we had the opportunities. And so the website, Google, and referrals got me through that first year.
Awesome. And you've been in that community for quite a while. So like you kind of alluded to, plenty of people knew you in the community and that you were, in doing it full time. So I know that's a tip that I always give the new businesses. Like don't underestimate the power of your personal network and your community that already knows you and they want to support you as well.
Well, and I kind of took some notes here as far as like out of the 179 jobs that we've completed that we've tracked, 80 of them came from Google.
Wow.
63 residential, 17 commercial.
But
then the next biggest one is 35 referrals.
Wow, that's awesome.
27 residential, 8 commercial. So
and out of how many total jobs was that? 179?
179.
Wow, that's great. Okay.
And you, I guess too, just to give a good mix of just to set the perspective of your kind of focus jobs. I know you guys do like larger, I guess, deck construction, larger kind of contractor work alongside the smaller job. Is that right?
Yes. And what I've found is that the handyman jobs, this putting in a storm door, little things like that, oftentimes lead into a bathroom remodel or a kitchen remodel or something. I don't know the percentages, but I would say that the majority of our jobs aren't just little handyman jobs anymore. They go from a door installation to a bathroom remodel or something larger. Almost every single job does.
That's awesome. So what type of jobs do you guys focus on right now? Like, is there any like bread and butter, like bathroom remodels, or do you just kind of do it all?
Well, I haven't really picked a lane and driven in it yet. So I would say that the majority of our work is kind of switching towards bathroom and kitchen remodels and decks.
Okay.
So those are the 3 things we're trying to focus on. And any type of remodeling, I guess, kind of is encompassed in there too. And we've been doing a lot of flooring jobs lately, which is just, I mean, simple flooring jobs, and they're turning into other remodel jobs too. So it's kind of, I'm having trouble like specializing in something versus being all over the board.
Yeah. And just to kind of lay the foundation too, before we dig into more detail, if you don't mind sharing, like you did about 280,000 your first year, being tossed in full time in April. What did your last year look like, 2021, and then do you have a kind of a target this year?
Yeah, last year we did 389.27.
Wow, awesome.
And with our net profit, now that the accountant isn't done with the bookkeepers are all done, but the accountant's not done with the number yet, so we'll see. Yeah. But the net was 50,383.
Okay. What that's about oh shoot. That's a tough math one.
Yeah, I'm not good at math off the top of my head.
Yeah, it's pretty high. It won't end up there, but that's what the Quicken says,
Okay. Yeah.
May end up around 12% or so.
Yeah, I would say it's going to be less, but by quite a bit.
Awesome. Okay. And then what are you hoping for this year?
This year will be north of 600 someplace.
Wow. Okay.
We've invoiced 142.3 to date,
Okay.
and we have a number of big jobs that are sitting close to completion that will be done this month. So we'll add another 35-ish by the end of the month or first week in May.
Okay. Awesome. And so
Yeah.
you said a number of jobs. How many jobs do you have going on at any particular moment? And
Right
how big
now
of a crew do you have?
We've got 2 full-time and 5 part-time,
Okay.
plus me. And I kind of, the way the business model works is I float between estimating and being on the tools. I'm kind of like this morning I was on the tools, and tomorrow I'll be on the tools in the morning and estimating all afternoon. So
Okay.
I'm a full-time guy when I need to be on the tools, but kind of float back and forth. I guess I'm where I'm needed.
Okay. Awesome. Well, first off, I want to commend you and congratulate you. I mean, shoot, getting furloughed from the railroad, and then, this year you'll easily do over $500,000 in revenue. I'm sure that was not on your radar in January 2020.
No. I mean, when we did $177 in total revenue, I'm like, oh yeah, this is going to go real good.
Right.
Yeah.
This will be perfect.
Yeah. But the whole goal is to actually replace my income with the railroad, replace the income I made on the railroad. And that was north of 100, right in that 105 to 110 range. And I'm not there yet personally, but it's coming. It's going to get there.
Yeah.
Cool.
So.
Yeah, I understand those are pretty solid jobs to maintain. So it sounds like you're on the right direction though in building back up that on your own, and then it's uncapped too because it's your business, and the opportunity is kind of endless.
Well, it really is, and that's one of the beauties of it. And kind of talking about that, it takes people, it takes a crew or multiple crews to get to where we want to be. And one of the things I can say is that I've got phenomenal people right now. They're just, they can handle pretty much anything. They never complain. They show up when they're supposed to. It's just that's making it very easy to deal with, the ins and outs of the business.
Yeah, and that's something too I definitely wanted to kind of talk about with you, because I know just from our relationship and seeing your stuff on Facebook, you've done really well with bringing on like younger, eager to learn workers that you've kind of trained up. Is that right? Did you start with your son, if I recall right?
Yeah, it didn't necessarily start with my son. Well, actually, yes, take that back. He was helping me early on, and then he was also helping prior to that with the other guy that trained me. So he started when he was probably 13, and he's going to be 18 next month. So he's basically has 5 years of experience. And yeah, he did help. He'd help hold boards or whatever. He just, kind of a gopher to start with, but now he's pretty seasoned, really. I mean, he's so right now they're in high school, they're building a house. He's taking building trades, and they're just about done with their house. So he's got all that experience too.
At 18, that is that is way further along than I was at that age.
Yeah. Well, I built the bookcase my senior year, so I mean, they're way past what I've ever done in high school too. And I just stopped at the house the other day. They're doing a really nice job. Instructors are really good. There's 11 of them over there out of that senior class that are building it, and they're all doing a nice job. So.
Man, that's fantastic. So does your son currently work with you in this, like
yes.
full-time or part-time, or what's that look like?
Well, he graduates at the end of May. Okay. So he's part-time right now. He worked yesterday afternoon, and he's going to work the rest of basically afternoons for until he graduates. Then he's coming full-time.
Okay. And what's his ambitions for life? Does he want to work with you? Does he want to start his own thing? What does that look like?
He wants to run the company.
Wow.
That's his goal.
That's exciting.
He's got a few years to go before he can, kind of take over, but I think he's got the head for it. He's got a really good head for construction. He's a solid kid. I mean, he's got things kind of figured out. as much as an 18-year-old can, or almost 18. So he's he's headed down that path. Everybody likes him. He's a hard worker. He's got all the right boxes checked for coming on board. So, and then the other, I've got my lead carpenter right now is a 22-year-old. He's solid. He's also got some electrical experience, but you need to be licensed for electrical in North Dakota. So we can change a light bulb, but that's about it. So he's got that experience behind him, plus a number of years of construction. He started in construction when he was 14. So he's got that. The other full-time guy has, he's young too. He's 24. He's got some construction experience, not as talented and maybe not as knowledgeable as my other lead guy, but coming along. He's getting there.
Wow. How did you find these young guys? Like, this is awesome.
Well, they were all referred back. So when I started with Austin, actually I've got 3 of Austin's my son. Okay. I've got 3 of his friends that work for me, 3 of his classmates and close friends, and they were all referred back. Like, if you're willing to work, if you're willing to, learn and that type of thing, my dad might have a job for you. And I've pulled those guys in, and then I went to the tech college in in a neighboring town, which is right across the river, and visited with the instructor and asked if I could talk to their construction class and hire some guys out of there part-time.
Wow.
So I've got two of their students part-time right now too. So they want to do construction. That's what their whole goal in life is. And they love having a part-time. They come at 1:30 every day because that's when their class is done. And they're eager to learn, eager to work. So I've been very fortunate with hiring people, but most of them have been referrals from other employees.
Awesome. Okay. And you also recently you have like an office customer relations person?
Yes, Casey. Yeah, Casey's my she's got my life organized. She really does. I mean, she schedules all of our estimates. She schedules where I'm supposed to be at certain times, and answers the phones, does all the communication. She's awesome. She does come into the office some, but mostly works from home.
Okay. Is she part-time?
Yes. Okay. She's on a salary now. She was actually, I wanted her about, probably 30 hours a week. I mean, 15 hours a week, 30 hours every pay period, so to speak. And she said, this is kind of silly. Why don't I just be on a salary, and then I can work when I need to work. When the phone rings, I can answer. I don't have to worry about checking in or out.
Yeah.
So I put her on a salary, and she's phenomenal. She was like, she has been, maybe you've talked to her. I don't know.
I have. She's very on the ball. I'd easily pick that up.
She is. She's super. Her day starts way before my day. She's usually up at 4:30, and she's texting me and messaging me and emailing me. I'm like, I don't see him for a couple hours because I don't get up that early. But it's like, holy smoke, she's really good. She loves her job. She absolutely said, I absolutely love it.
So can you talk a little bit about that? A customer relations person, like, how did you find her, and what, like, ultimately does she do, and like what kind of changes have you seen in your business by hiring that gal?
So I wasn't sure I was going to go, but I ran an ad on Facebook, and I got 27 applicants for the position, which was crazy. I didn't expect that. Out of the 27, I got down to 5 that I wanted to phone interview. And from the phone interviews, I got down to 3 that I wanted to face-to-face meet with. And so it went from 27 to 3, and I met with all 3 of them. And 2 of them, after I met with them, they never once initiated anything. But Casey, she was texting me, and not annoyingly, but like just making sure that I knew she was still there and was interested. And I'm thinking, okay, this is the gal that I want, because she's on top of it. So once I
4:30
brought
a.m. text.
yeah, once I brought her on board, I mean, she has transformed the communication process. She there isn't. I mean, every once in a while she'll miss a phone call, but it's not very often. And if she does miss one, she's immediately responding back. So that's one thing that has been a huge boost in business. Because I mean, I think both of you guys probably know, if you miss a phone call and the customer, whoever's trying to get a hold of you, they're just going to go to the next person and try the next person, the next person. So if you can answer your phone and set up an appointment immediately and actually show up for the appointment when you say you're going to show up and go through the process, they're basically your customer if you want them.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a common, I hear it tossed around a lot that it's just false, but like people that cannot answer the phone consistently, they chalk it up with, well, if it's important, then they will leave a voicemail or send a text message, because they will have listened to my voicemail message that says leave a voicemail or text. But there's plenty of really great clientele that they're not going to leave a voicemail. They're not going to listen to it. They're just going to hang up and be like, well, shoot, I'm going to call someone else then. And you're missing like some really great clients that will be calling you back for future work. Like you mentioned, it starts with a small one and then it can lead into bigger things. And by missing that phone call, you're potentially missing out on a really great relationship.
Yep. Well, just as an example, the job we were on this morning, we were supposed to go just remove some drywall that had gotten wet and it was moldy. So that's where it started. And we took that out, had to re-insulate, re-drywall. Then we did wainscoting, new flooring, a whole bunch of different things. And when I left there today, the gal says, those 4 other companies that I called trying to get a hold of somebody still haven't called me back, and you're almost done with the job. And she said, I just want to thank you for being here. So it was awesome that she kind of, made our efforts. She acknowledged our efforts, basically.
Fantastic. Yeah. So the whole thought of a customer relations person, or you call it a CSR, is a very, I think, important topic to talk about. It's something that I recommend that everyone get. But can you kind of walk us through like your mindset of why you wanted to get a gal in the office, a CSR, and maybe what were some of your like fears going into that, and how you kind of overcame that and finally hired her?
Sure. The phone was getting so busy that I was missing, probably 6 to 8 phone calls a day that I couldn't answer. I'm laying under a deck, or I'm in the middle. I'm in the middle of something, and I can't answer it.
Hello?
And if I do answer it, I'm not really doing the customer any service because I'm not focused. I'm not able to write something down. I'm not just the whole thing, the wheels kind of fall off of it when you're trying to answer a phone in the field. So that was one of my main reasons for getting somebody to answer the phones and messages and emails and things like that, because I just didn't have the time. It was getting to the point where I'd get home at night and go, oh, holy crap, I have 11 voicemails and I have, whatever to return, and 10 emails or 5 texts or whatever. It got overwhelming. So when I hired her, that all went away. She just like, I'll just handle it. Don't worry about it. But here's the inherent problem with that. You get your finger off the pulse of what's kind of going on in your business.
Right.
So that part kind of made me a little uneasy, because I wasn't seeing the phone calls. I wasn't hearing it. The phone wasn't ringing anymore. To me, it was ringing to her.
Right.
So, and all of a sudden, I don't know if we have opportunities or don't have opportunities. So I kind of had to step back and go, wait a second, she's got this. I mean, she's really, she's on top of it, and I don't have to worry about it. And if she would I could look back in the phone records and go, okay, yeah, the phone rang 18 times today, and she got them all.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And I look at the calendar, and we use Markate for our CSR and our CRM, I mean, and I can look back and I can look at the calendar and go, okay, we've got 9 appointments scheduled for Wednesday for our estimate day. So she's answered all the calls, she's done all that, she's put them in Markate, they're all scheduled, all taken care of, and I was still out in the field producing income.
Fantastic.
So,
and you're doing the estimating too, Charlie? Are you the estimator that bids everything?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So far, and that will continue, I would say, throughout this year for sure.
And a specific question on like the phones. Do you use Google Workspace for Google Voice to set up the phone numbers and kind of your employees' emails and kind of that kind of management system?
We use TalkRoute for the phone system, and that seems to function pretty well. I mean, there are a couple little things I don't like about it, but for the most part, that it's getting the job done, you know. And as far as emails from customers and that type of thing, we've started to use Markate more, emailing through the Markate system, so they're all tracked. And we probably haven't used Markate to the potential of where it could go, you know, to its full potential. But I think that's coming as Casey's kind of learning more and more about it and getting all the little nuances figured out. That's helping a lot, you know, with communication and not losing people's information.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's huge. And that's one great thing about us, you know, having a CRM is having everyone kind of held into that, you know, specific spot, and Markate works great for that. So you had said the TalkRoute. I'm not familiar with that. So maybe you could kind of talk a little bit more about that. So basically your company had a business phone number, right?
Yes.
I assume that's the number that's been on your, you know, your signs and this and that. How did your Casey, your CSR, now get that number? Like, is that TalkRoute did that, or
so like? you can add up. I don't think there's a limit to how many extensions you can add, or how many phones you can have the number go to. So say for instance, if it'll go to Casey's phone number first on her cell, she can answer it. She knows there's a business call coming in. It shows it's from our business line, and so if she can't answer for some reason, it rolls to me.
Oh, okay.
So, and you can have it roll to multiple people before it would ever get to me. And the reason I like it is because it is dedicated. It's not something that's, you know, you're not answering the phone, hello, this is Charlie, you know, it's a red level improvements call.
Right.
And a business call. So she can make the calls out from TalkRoute and also receive calls.
Okay.
And it's pretty simple. I mean, I know there are free services out there that, like Google Voice. TalkRoute, I think, runs us $59 a month or $49 a month, something like that. So it's more, you know, it's not that much money. And it's so far it's served us well. Okay.
So you had TalkRoute set up for your business even before you had Casey, or is that something you instituted after? Okay.
I actually started out with Ring Central. Ring Central was I think probably for a bigger company. It had way more features than I ever needed. I shouldn't say ever, but way more features than I needed to start with. And eventually it landed on TalkRoute, and the call quality is good. Nobody knows that it's like it's an internet phone basically. There's not any echoing. There's not any problems with it. So it's always been good.
Fantastic. I love it.
Yeah, I remember it being so nice experience. Like I called Charlie for something, and like it doesn't even ring. It just has this really professional, like, you know, thanks for calling Red Level Improvements. A little jingle in the background, and then Casey answered the phone. I was like, oh, wow, that was really professional. It was just a great experience. I remember you sending me TalkRoute because I was asking what system you use, because I was very impressed with it. So,
well, in the gal that did the background, you know, voices and things like that, she does it professionally, and she's just a friend of mine. So she did it, and she's done it for a couple other people that we all know.
Mm-hmm.
So it's actually, I think that's part of the reason that people like to leave messages. They actually will leave a message because one person says, it didn't even tick me off when I called you. It was kind of nice when I got a voicemail.
It was pleasant. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's important. Just the company image is what we're trying to portray from if we don't answer the phone, it's professional all the way through.
Yeah. And so that kind of leads to this larger question, but you've already covered like the starting point, but what is like your customer experience like as far as, they call in, Casey answers the phone, she gets them booked in Marquette, you go give the estimate. I guess if you could kind of talk a bit about like your process from there, like, what's your estimate process look like? Do you provide a free estimate? Is there some kind of, dispatch fee? And then from there, kind of what that looks like for your business and the client.
Sure. So right now our estimate days we try to get every estimate day done on Wednesdays. That's kind of where I can like put on nicer clothes and go out and talk to people, that type of thing. So once the estimate's scheduled, of course we show up on time in Marquette, you give them your 10 minutes out or 20 minutes out, whatever. Actually show up for the appointment on time. Mm-hmm. Once you've done that, customers are almost like, here's my checkbook, and just, we don't care what the job costs. You've shown up. So that's the whole part of it. Mm-hmm. But so if it's a bigger job, like a bathroom remodel, things like that, we talk about options, talk about ranges, talk about budgets, and kind of get the feel for the customer. And sometimes we don't want to deal with every customer. We don't want to take every job. So we might at that point, when I go back, might say, at this time, we're not taking on any new business for bathroom remodels or whatever. We might pass. But if we don't pass, my rule is we have to get something back to them within 48 hours. So and I prefer 24. Mm-hmm. Kind of strike while the iron's hot, because what I've found is that if you show up on time, do what you say you're going to do, and get back to within 24 hours, they're very open to almost anything that you come up with. Mm-hmm. The closing ratio is pretty high. Mm-hmm. Once you've done that. So we run all our estimates through Marquette. So they get the estimate within 48 hours, preferably 24. Once they have it, we have to contact them within 24 hours. And typically it's a phone call. Mm-hmm. We'll call and just find out if they have any other questions. Just because they always have some questions of, well, what does that include, or what does this look like? What kind of time frame? If we do decide to go with it, what are you thinking as far as when you can get it done? There are questions, and what I've found is if you get back to them within the 24 hours of receiving the estimate, it's just, again, strike while iron's hot. You're kind of keeping the momentum going, and they're more open to what you want to do.
And you're freed up though, because you've got the processes and people in the right spots where, you've got the space and the energy to really be proactive with these kind of like estimates.
Yes, and that's huge, because before I would go, I'd leave a job and I'd go to an estimate, and I'd go back to the job, and I'd, back and forth. And sometimes you're not always the cleanest when you're going over there, and not that you have to be in a suit, but it makes it a little bit better if you're looking a little more presentable when you're over, when you actually go to the estimate. So some people don't care, but first impressions kind of mean a lot. If you can show up with, I have a Milwaukee, like a tool bag that I carry in with like a laser measure and just all the things I need for the estimate. Mm-hmm. And it looks professional. It just looks like it's, it looks like I mean business when I'm there, and people kind of appreciate that.
Yeah. I know something Alan did, and I think your estimator does now, but they kind of come prepared at least for little things. And if there's
Mhm.
something small that they could find during the estimate, wouldn't you just kind of like fix it up for them real
Yeah.
quick? If it was like a super simple thing,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
just give that value.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, a big thing is like closet doors that have just come off the track. Like, I'll just pop it on the track real quick for them, and they're like, "Wow, you've already solved one of my problems." Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
On the house.
definitely.
Yeah, that's huge. I mean, I have a backpack in my pickup that has an impact driver and a couple other little things in there, little sawzall and some other. It's just I can fix a lot of little things when I'm at
Mhm.
somebody's house
Mhm.
this quick. Yep.
Mhm. Yep. That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, so what would you say are some of the biggest wins that you've experienced, like in business and personal, just kind of throughout this whole handyman journey?
Well, as far as I would say the wins this year have been like finally getting a shop.
Hmm.
Oh, you guys moved into a shop this year?
Yeah, we did.
Okay.
That's exciting.
It is. We have a shop and an office, and I'm in the office right now, which is on one end of the building. The shop is on the other end.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not connected, but not that big of a deal. It's only whatever 70 feet away or 80 feet away.
Mm-hmm.
But to have some place where we can kind of stage for jobs and actually have an office that we can meet in. We can have clients here. We have plenty of room in here. We have, we have three. Actually, we have the room that I'm in is pretty good size, but there's a really big like conference room behind. Not that we need it,
Mm-hmm.
but it's there.
Right.
So we can grow into it versus out of it. And I think that's probably one of the two biggest wins this year are Casey in the office and shop.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
awesome.
So
that's cool. What is the shop? I mean, you said that it allows you to kind of stage stuff, but what has it like allowed you to do, or what has it brought to your company? The shop.
Well, so we just did a big job in a fertilizer warehouse where we had to cut a bunch of stringers. Well, when we were cutting those stringers, one of them, three sets were 24 feet long.
Wow.
And when we were doing the job, it was 20 below zero.
Jeez. Oh man.
so we pre-cut all the stringers in the shop.
Mm-hmm.
And just things like that. We have a router table set up in there and a cut station and the table saw and just things where if we have to do some production cuts where maybe we're doing wainscoting and we can go in there and just zip them all out, something like that, or tongue and groove on a wall where we know lengths or it's kind of handy to have all the material inside and a place to go to do it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And say, for instance, like we got a big window job coming up, and my supplier was doing inventory. They just got done with, and they said they wanted the windows out of their warehouse. So, we have 14 windows in the shop because I was working out of my garage before. That wasn't going to work.
Right.
You know,
So was that the major prompt though, as far as like that trigger point of like, well, it's time to find an office and a shop? Was it just kind of having that place where you guys can prep and all get together? Is that kind of the major points? And just tossing that out there because I know I talk with quite a few people that they're just kind of toying with the idea. I know Alan recently moved into one, but kind of just some common things of like, man, it's time because of this.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so my house is a single garage and in the summer I keep my boat in the garage. Well, I couldn't even hardly find my boat. It was so packed full of stuff that, and I couldn't even walk in the garage. You'd have to get to the back of the garage. You have to take things out.
Mm-hmm.
So, it just got to the point where we all grew that it just wasn't going to function anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So, it was a necessity to find more space.
Mm-hmm.
A personal necessity.
Yeah.
Yes, because I needed to get the garage back.
Mm-hmm.
So at least we could move around in there and park in there and that type of thing, or park the boat, whatever. I don't like having my vehicle out in the winter if we can help it. So it was my pickup sat on the driveway, and that's just where it was at.
Yeah.
So basically, it was a personal need, but since we've moved into the shop, we're able to take on bigger bigger things, bigger projects, and prepare for them better, I guess.
Yeah. So do you have any like new goals that you want to apply in the shop? Like now that you have a shop, you want to start this or that. Like for instance, we just moved into a new shop, and one thing I really want to do is create like a training center where I could create like 3 mock-up rooms, and have them wired up for electrical or whatever, and I could kind of go through and teach guys. One room would be kind of a kitchen, teach guys kitchen faucets, things like that, garbage disposals. Do you have any kind of like goals for that for your shop space, or what's that?
No, I hadn't thought about that. I mean, that's not a bad idea, but I think a lot of the jobs that we do, it's kind of on the job training. So we've used the job sites as a training platform, like real world stuff.
Right.
But I guess I hadn't thought about actually training, maybe drywall repair or something like that. We could set that up and have guys working on that or whatever the case might be. That's a good idea. Kind of like, I like the fact that we can use it for other than just making something.
Right. Yeah. It's really the opportunities are limitless. One thing that I'm very interested in is there's another, so our business model is, we have, the call comes in, our CSR takes it, the estimator writes up the estimate, and then before the job, we basically order all the materials and have the materials delivered to the house, and our technician assistant does that. Do you guys have any of that, or is the technician going to, like, say, Home Depot every morning to pick up stuff, or what does your, like, material acquisition look like?
It's kind of a hybrid of what you're talking about. Sometimes on a bigger job, all the materials will get delivered to the job site. Let's say if we're building a deck,
okay,
the supplier will deliver all the materials to the job site prior to us getting there.
Okay.
Now if it's a small little job, they'll stop at Menards or Lowe's. We have both of them close. They can stop and grab the materials on the way to the job, and that's kind of built into the pricing. We've kind of worked that out so that every job we have, it's project prep and delivery.
Okay.
On every single job that we do, there's always that line item. It's
Okay.
It's not itemized money wise, but it's itemized at least on the customer sees project prep and delivery.
So that's very interesting. What does that look like? Is there an actual price that's on that project prep and delivery that the client sees?
No, they don't. We don't itemize as far as
but that's
labor
in
and
the
materials.
description.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's in the description. So
I see.
it's a minimum is 50.
So what do you guys, how do you charge for that? Is it a percentage of the job, or like?
I haven't quite figured that out yet. So,
Okay.
But a minimum of 50, and it depends on kind of the job size. I haven't really come up with a percentage, but it could be anywhere from 50 to 75 to 600.
Right.
I just did an estimate last night for a very big deck, and I used 1,000 because I know there's going to be many trips, and it's out of town. It's 20 miles south. So we're going to have extra trips back and forth, just kind of shooting from the hip a little bit. But based on the job size and location, we're adding that much to it.
Yeah, I'm thinking it could even be like 10%, because if you had like 10%, that's $100 off of $1,000 job,
Yeah,
that's an interesting equation.
Yeah, but the reason I put it in there is because oftentimes you forget about it. You kind of just you lose track of it, and if you don't put it as a line item, you're not going to charge for it.
Right.
And this kind of leads into like the bigger question is, how do you price a job? Like, what's your pricing look like, and what goes into that?
Great question.
So I use Cost Estimator, which is it's a software that we use. It costs like $59 a month for that, and some of the jobs I run through that and get a man hour total, because it will, if you break it down per, it works out good, because you can actually like start out with getting a permit all the way through to cleanup and everything in between. You can add each line item in, and get a total for man hours. And based on what you're charging for per man hour, you can just take that 40 hours and multiply it by 75 or 85 or whatever you're charging, and get your total labor cost. And it'll also give you close total material cost.
Yeah.
And then you can mark it up from there,
Yeah, that's good. I think that's usually the question, because we get that question a lot in the Handyman Mastermind group is, hey, what should I charge for this job? But I think the question is really like what you're getting at is not how much you should charge, but how long will it take? Because everyone's cost is different, and overhead and whatnot,
For sure. I mean, that's, and one guy might pay a helper $15 an hour. The next guy might pay him 25 or 30.
Right.
So you can't, to hit a target for hourlies, you have to go back to what your scenario is, really.
Do you have like a back end hourly rate that you kind of input into this equation?
Yeah, we're at 75 for residential, 85 for commercial.
Okay. Why more for commercial?
Typically your insurance costs are higher.
Okay.
And there's sometimes it's actually the jobs might be easier because there's not emotion involved with them, but we just charge. That's another reason we can charge a little bit more for commercial, is because they want the job done. It doesn't really, cost isn't really the key factor.
Yeah, I've talked with quite a few folks who specialize in commercial, and they do like it because as long as you have your ducks in a row as far as the insurance, and a lot of them, being able to pay and take like a net 30, getting paid later, the market will bear a way higher price to do a relatively straightforward, and like you said, non-emotional job, like fixing a delivery garage door or something like that, where someone just signs a sheet of paper like, yep, he came, and he did it,
you did it, yep, I'll get out of here.
We got the invoice, and we'll get that to corporate in New York.
Yeah,
exactly. That's how it works. And it's, we are kind of leaning more towards commercial versus residential. We're starting to do more and more commercial jobs. So it may come to a point where that's all we do. We're not, that lane hasn't been picked yet.
Yeah. Yeah, and from my conversations with the people who specialize in commercial, it can be more streamlined as long as you have your ducks in a row. You can take the net 30. Also, a lot of the jobs are pretty similar as far as a commercial property. Think of like strip malls, things like that. It's there's a lot of commonality between all the different things that could come up on a commercial property that you can train people in the most common jobs, and make really good profit on your crews focusing on commercial. So certainly something to think about.
Yeah, and that's kind of where we're headed. I mean, like we're going to be doing a nail salon coming up in the next 45 days, and that's all this. I mean, it's pretty cut and dry. It's all this little knee walls and little whatever. It's not a lot of construction, and not a lot of things going on in there other than the plumbing. But we sub all of our like plumbing. We have to sub that out. We have to sub out electrical. But I have really good subs for all that are phenomenal. I mean, I couldn't ask for any better.
How does that sub relationship work? Is it just kind of like, do you have any kind of referral fee, or is it just straight like, I just would like you to do this job and you don't collect anything on it? Or how's that relationship work?
Well,
any kind of business application there?
So it depends. If we're bidding like a bigger job, like a bathroom remodel where there's a number of other variables, for fixtures and moving plumbing, that type of thing, I usually get a bid. And then what I've been focusing and concentrating on is profit on those subs. And I hadn't really marked it up too much prior, but now I'm actually marking it up with a multiple 1.5. So it ends up with about a 33% gross margin. And that right there has helped the bottom line considerably. And you're going to lose a few jobs because of it, because you're probably higher than what some other people are, but some people don't. I mean, they're willing to pay more money, and the people that aren't, you maybe didn't want to work for them anyway.
Yep.
So
it's a good point.
Love it, man. So really quickly, we are kind of running out of time here quickly, but
it always happens like this, man.
It always happens. I know. we need to make these things like 3 hours long.
No, you don't. No.
We'll have to have you back on here shortly, Charlie. But really quickly, what do you do for marketing, and what would you say has been the biggest thing that has helped you out in marketing?
Well, Jason's done a really good job. Whatever he's done behind the scenes, as far as Google, I mean, honestly, we haven't done much marketing other than whatever's search engine optimization, which I don't even really understand. That's that's
It's for him to understand. I don't get it either.
Exactly. I don't need to know, as long as somebody knows that it's working. I guess that's all we care about. But so honestly, that's pretty good.
Ding ding.
So I mean, really, we haven't done much marketing. We haven't pushed Facebook. I've actually kind of backed off a little bit because we've had so many opportunities just from Google and through the website and referrals that I'm almost scared to push it any harder because I can't. I'm trying to get the employees and the staff in place to take on more, but it's kind of, you kind of leapfrog. You have to, you know what I mean? You can't just open the floodgates and then get everybody here at one time, and you can't handle all the work.
It's good to be conscious of like your own, your own time, and then your staff and your team, and not pressing them too hard. It's certainly a balance of pedal to the metal, and making sure people are comfortable and happy with their work, and they don't feel pressed, if you will.
Definitely.
Yeah, and I think that's as far as marketing goes, there will be a time where we push that a lot harder, but as of right now, we're at a happy medium, I would say. We're kind of where we need to be, and for next year, I want to do $1.5 million next year. So in 2023, that's the goal. And in order to get there, I think we have enough opportunities right now to get to that point. We don't have the staff. So once I get everybody on board and everybody rolling, and the equipment, the trailer, and extra trailer or two, or an extra pickup or two, just to kind of get everybody to the job sites and the tools to the job sites that we need. It's kind of, like I said, it's a work in progress for sure.
Yeah. And you got to wait for those graduation dates to roll around.
You do.
Definitely. Definitely.
Yeah, that's actually, Charlie, that's something I don't know if I've shared with you, but I've shared your, especially going to that tech school as a strategy for people that are like, I don't know where to start with hiring. And you're kind of one of my top examples of, this strategy works super well for Charlie. And I think it's brilliant to just go right to the source of up and coming people that are interested in the trades, and they're hungry to learn. They're going to school, and so anyway, I do commend you for that strategy. I've certainly shared it with a lot of people by this time.
Yep.
Well, thank you for that, and I guess that if you ask the people that are working for you already to find somebody else that they want to work with and to bring in, that's been another huge key. You get like-minded people that really truly are there because they want to be there, and you can take that and channel those, all that energy. I've got like a bunch of young guys that are working, that are talented, that are eager to learn. You can't work them hard enough to wear them out, really. I mean, you can't. They just go. And once you have that, and you have that mentality, and you bring in more, I mean, it's kind of perpetual. It just brings this, you can kind of grow that as a team. And I think they actually get some satisfaction out of bringing one of their friends or somebody that they can validate to the team,
Yeah,
definitely.
And it makes the job site, work. A big part of work enjoyment is just who you're working with, and I could totally see the logic of the rationale of, you get one of these students in school, and then they bring on a couple of their classmates because they're in construction, and just there's a lot of synergy there that's win-win for you as a business owner, and then for them as up and coming kind of trades professional.
Definitely. So, Charlie, would you have any last advice or tips for fellow handyman business owners out there that are maybe starting out in the same position as you, what kind of tips would you have for them?
Well, I think I don't think you can underestimate a team. I've got excellent bookkeeper. I've got an excellent accountant, a good CSR person, good employees. I think if you're headed down the path of expanding your business, building that foundation is probably one of the best things that you can do. Because if you don't have the team in place or the right mentality for the team, you're constantly chasing employees. You're constantly trying to make up for something that isn't even there. You can't produce anything because nobody cares. So if they can see, the team sees the goal of where you're headed, and you have the proper team in place, really the sky's the limit. You can just keep duplicating that until the cows come home.
Yep. I love it. Love it.
Yeah. Hey, well, we're going to wrap up here. Thank you so much, Charlie. Really appreciate your insight and just being an open book. I 100% know we've heard it all the time of just the value and inspiration that comes from, people like yourself that come on and just share about your story and how you run your business. It's truly an honor for us to be here with you. And I know that all our listeners are really going to, be able to take a lot of action from what you've shared today and just inspire them too of like, shoot, like being in that position of being furloughed, like what the heck do I do now? And then make the jump full time because you just enjoy it and the opportunities there. So truly, we appreciate you coming on with us today.
Well, thank you very much for having me, and I'll do it again sometime if you ever want me to.
Oh, of course. We talk all the time about round twos. Like next year, it hadn't been a year since we've been doing this yet. Yeah. And it's grown to become like, I think, our favorite thing of what we do as part of our work, I guess, if you want to call it something.
Definitely.
So also one plug for to connect with all of us, Charlie. I'm not sure if you're a part of it yet. If not, we'll invite you to our. We have a Facebook group called the Handyman Success Mastermind Group, and all of the content's focused on marketing and business operations and business growth, rather than like how much would you charge for this and tools and things like that. So we'll have to get you in there because we have people join and they can tag if they have any specific questions for you about something that you talked about. We'll get you in there, and anyone listening, the Handyman Success Facebook group is where you can find us for business and marketing and just to connect. So thank you all for listening. Charlie, thanks again for coming on, man. It's been a great time.
Thank you, gentlemen. Take care.
All right. Bye, everyone.